Okay, here we have the revolution of the tractors. The horses were first, and then they decided that they needed more power. They built steam engines. Some were stationary, and then some of them had wheels. Steam. Well, how is steam made? Well, you see the water wagon behind there? When you put a pot on the stove, you heat it up and it boils. That same thing happens in there. Case, steam engine, they made the highest amount of steam engines. They were made in the early 1900s into the teens, and then the gas tractors came around, and now we're talking about electric driverless tractors. So it's an era wherever you lived in. I was born in '46, so yeah, the older stuff in my life is something special to me. People that were born in the steam era, that's important. You take 50 years from now, you'll probably see people that's restoring electric tractors. Minneapolis Moline, the Case was made in Racine, along with many tractors. The Minneapolis Moline here was made in Minneapolis. They were into the steam engines, and they built tractors also, just like Case. Forget the horsepower on this. Horsepower, listen, there's a 28 horsepower. All nicely done here. That's actually the owner of this tractor is actually a doctor, and he has the sawmill. In fact, he pulled all my wife's teeth when she had her dentures. So good job. Anybody know where this tractor was made? Anybody? Appleton, Wisconsin. At one time, there was 36 tractor manufacturers in Wisconsin. That was before the Depression. There was actually one made right in Slinger, so very close by. There's none of those to be around. But this Eagle was just, Travis Krieger just purchased this tractor. I'll have him, I don't know that much about him, but Travis is learning. Okay, so what we have in front of us, this is a 1918 Model F. So if you believe it, this tractor was made during World War I. Was owned up until this June by the Lobdow family of Wayside, Wisconsin. There were three brothers that farmed together. Two of them were bachelors. One of them was a carpenter by trade and had a really good year and sent his two other brothers out custom farming, and this Eagle was what they bought to do that. Meinhard Lobdow died in 1958. And this went to the other two brothers, and then to the grandkids, and we purchased it from the great-grandkids. This is my son Tucker driving it. Pretty impressive to have something 105 years old and still be able to run and drive. Very good, Travis. Keeping the history going. That's actually a two-cylinder, right, Travis? Two-cylinder, just like the Harleys, just like the John Deeres. The crankshaft is just the opposite of John Deere's, the same as the Harleys, where the John Deere's the crankshaft is this way on here, and the Harleys are this way. They go around, so you don't have the sound of the John Deere, but it's still a two-cylinder. And here's Gale Man himself to tell you all about this Gale equipment.
Thank you and welcome everybody. Stop by the Gale tent and take a look at our display. What we're looking at here right now is SB83, one of the first self-propelled designed on the market with the concept of the self-propelled concept. Harley Pupol is driving the machine. He's a 50-year plus employee of the Gale Company. The machine is run with a Red Seal Continental engine and was built in 1953. One of the few that we could find around that's good of shape. The other machine we have is another prototype forage harvester, one of many of the flywheel forage harvesters Gale manufactured. It's an FH84. Dick Atkins tractor that he refinished as towing machine, the 84 forage harvester along with the FH-188 were two machines that kept a lot of people very busy at the Gale Company for many years, and also employed or helped a lot of farmers put up their silage, and they were very, very popular machines until we moved on to the cylinder cut. So thank you, and stop by the Gale tent and say hello.
Thank you. I worked there 4.5 years, and the first self-propelled chopper went through. That chopper did the same thing, and it was way before the self-propelled era. Fox up in Appleton, they built the self-propelled, and that was before the big modern ones are now. That chopper did the same thing as 2 rows at a time. What you see out in the fields today, and it's going to be happening probably this week or next week when the farmers are out there chopping the corn, they'll be taking 12 rows at a time, traveling about 3 times as fast going through the field and throwing it into a semi or a big wagon. Where that one there just had a small wagon because it barely had enough power to do the chopping and pulling itself. But came a long ways what we were back in the 50s and 60s to what it is now, and a long ways from when them steam engines went through. So that is time and history, no different in our automobile industry and everything. Things are manufactured much differently now. Here we have an old staple at the show here, 1949 Minneapolis-Moline ZAU Roger Zangle. It comes with a 2-row cultivator that you would cultivate the corn long before the pesticides and weed killers came around. The farmers don't even cultivate corn anymore. And a sickle mower, which very few farmers ever use a sickle mower anymore. They use a hay bine or a self-propelled swatter that will cut 6 times or 10 times more what that cutter was there. The sickle goes back and forth, and it will cut the hay down, and then you have to rake it and whatever. Now the machines, they put it in a windrow, and they merge 2 or 3 windrows together, because the new modern balers and choppers got to have more equipment, more silage and corn and hay going through it to work to make it efficient to use. Here we have a nice 1965 Cub Cadet driven by Tim Miller and owned by Tim Miller. It has the Cub Cadet trailer with it. I got a little history on this one here. I actually restored that tractor and that trailer, and his brothers, when Tim was about 3 or 4 years old, I did a trade with the kids. I think the oldest one was just in a freshman in high school. Their grandfather was an international collector, and they wanted the Cub Cadets. It was a 100 and I think a 109 that I had restored. And so I traded a tractor for the 2 tractors, and the boys noticed that trailer, and they remarked what a nice trailer that was. I said, well, tell you what, you can have that trailer, but if I ever hear that you got in trouble, because I was young once too, I said, I'm going to come and take that trailer away from you. So it's a standing joke, and I forgot to ask it today if they got into trouble. But 3 good young boys and his brothers right behind in that international car. So stay out of trouble, Tim. His brother Leo was driving this 1949 IH KB2. So yes, International made big tractors, they made garden tractors, and they made pickups. They made the Scout, which was a SUV. That was before the SUV came around, but it was just like an SUV. Miller out of West Bend, and with a 1920 economy hit and miss horse and a half engine in the back. He bought it, the truck that way, and he don't have plans on restoring and painting, and it looks real nice the way it is. Next we have a 1968 International Cup Cadet 127. Ty Painish, thanks for how to pronounce it. Ty is the owner and the driver. Built this work was a Cup Cadet 127. Ty and his dad worked on it together. Happy to be here and happy to have you here. Good luck. Many more. You learn a lot of stuff working on these old tractors. You can't read it out of a book.
Also got just one quick announcement here. The silent auction, the current silent auction will be closing at 2 o'clock, which is be approximately right after the parade. If you want to bid on something, please check in there.
Next we have a 1961, and that's when International Harvester came out with a Cup Cadet. This is original. Looks like it's original engine, probably a 7-horse Kohler, right? Yep. Alexandra Schwantes, and looks like she is the owner of it too, pulling a nice little wagon. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being a part of the parade. Looks like we got the Nyhouse family here lined up with 4 tractors. Our first John Deere tractor. This is a John Deere LA in 1945. These tractors were built in Dubuque, Iowa. This is a 2-cylinder, but they're different. The ones that were built in Dubuque were vertical engines. Where the next tractor, it will be a horizontal engine, but it's still a 2-cylinder. John Deere is the only company building tractors today, farm tractors, that started out John Deere many years ago, and it's still John Deere made today. All ones all merged in with other companies. So this is a John Deere LA, owner Darwin Nyhouse, and driven by Terry Sylvester, pulling an Amish-style buggy. Where's the horse? You're the horse. Very good. This alley has lights and everything. Coming up next is Darwin's 1948 John Deere B. These tractors, they started out with the 1923 with a D, and when they went with the A in 1934 and the B was in 1935, they started with the letter series. The difference between a B and a A, yes, it's the horsepower, but if we have an A coming through here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the John Deere A has 7. So if you see one sitting in the trees and you don't know what it is, count the spaces in between on the grill there. This is 1948. They made it the letter series till 1952. Ben Sylvester is the driver, and he's pulling a John Deere manure spreader. I'll ask the same question I did yesterday. Are you politicians? We need politicians in there so we can turn that thing on and scatter them around. Thanks for coming again. Next we have Darwin himself on a John Deere MC. These are no different than the M's. This is the MC with a C standing for crawler. They made these for swampier areas. They would pull a 2-bottom plow, and they were used in come out with a blade on them and different things. So this is a John Deere, a 1950 MC crawler. Thanks, Darren. Keep it on the uppity up. Next we have a 1939 John Deere B. These tractors that went through here, other than the LA, these are styles, meaning they covered up the radiator and stuff. We probably do have some unstyled coming through. They started styling the tractors in 1938, no different than the International whatever. 38 was the year when they started making them more stylish, no different than the cars. They made the cars look different, made them look more presentable so they could get a little bit more money for them. This owner is Ron Strauss, and the driver is Ashton C. Schmidt. Very good. A tractor like this you don't want to restore and repaint. It's got what they call the almond auction. If you ever seen him, he talks about the patina. That's got a very nice, yes it isn't shiny and whatever, but it's hard to get one that really looks like that. Next we have a tractor that was donated by the Schmidt family. It's a 1939 Farmall M. It was donated, was restored by Wayne Mador, but it was donated to the Historical Society, right? Yep. Fifth one in line, Nate? Very good. 1939. Many international M's were made as the progression of the more horsepower and lights, and as I said yesterday before, they came out with lights so the farmers could work longer hours, and then they bought more land, and they put more horses or cows on for milking, and it's just a vicious circle how it goes. And here we have a Mogul 1020, 10 meaning 10 horsepower on the drawbar and 20 on the belt. The belt would go on this big pulley here. It's made by International, one of their first models. What year? 1917, so that goes back a few years. That's a little bit older than me. Just a few years. Very nice, well done tractor. You put a lot of time into something like this to make it look original, and when you start on it, you want to get every part cleaned and right back to the original. Mike and Wendy Wellen, 1946 Farmall M from Hartford. 1946, yeah, that's going back. That was before all the modern features. They do have a buddy seat on there and everything, but like I said before in the other M, a lot of these M's were made, a lot of H's were made, and then they progressed into the 560, 460, and so on. Now they got this tractor is probably around 45 horse in there, right? They came out with a 715 horse tractor now, so yeah, I would want to know a price tag on that thing though. Thanks for coming. Another John Deere B with a saw rig on the front. That saw rig would be operated by putting a belt from the pulley over to these pulleys over here, and that's how you put the logs on there and saw them before they were split or anything. What year you got there? The tractor. 49, that's just when they come out with a square axle and then the pressed steel frame, and it looks good right down to the original muffler. One thing the engineers didn't do very good thought on when these A's and B's, to change the muffler you had to take the whole hood off. So that one's got a patch on it. The farmers didn't have a whole day just to change the muffler, so they just took a hammer and chisel and cut out a hole. That was long before the Sawzall and all the fancy stuff we got today, because when the muffler went, the farmer didn't have time. You want these? No, I don't need them, no. Here we have a economy, what year? 1957 Jim Danny. Is this one made in Richfield? And Waukesha. 105 with a 4. 104 with a 5-horse engine. Made in Waukesha, and then they went to Richfield, right? After Waukesha? Oh, ready to move. Okay, very good. Nice little tractor. Nice for the garden when the farmers got bigger gardens, or in a garden farm at the time. They would pull a little one-bottom plow. You could do cultivating. They made all kinds of attachments for them. Here we have an economy. Mr. Bush, how are you doing? You're wonderful. Good. What year? 1960.
So these were made by Economy out of Waukesha, but this particular brand was developed called Country Squire for catalog sales because they didn't want their catalogs to compete with their Economy dealers at the time.
Very good. And your girls seem to be growing up. Too fast, you betcha. Enjoy them when you can. I had my great-granddaughters here yesterday. Okay, here you see a new generation's John Deere. The 30 series with 430, 530, 630, 730, and 830, John Deere had decided that they couldn't get any more horsepower out of that horizontal 2-cylinder. A secret that was kept for 5 years that they worked on would be a 3010 and a 4010. And they were introduced in Texas in an Astrodome, where they had all the dealers come in and they revealed what they were doing for 5 years. A secret that's probably never been done before. We had people working on these tractors. It was in a storefront building down in Waterloo, I guess on Main Street or whatever. But it was a big secret, they had donuts delivered every day to this place, and this guy just walked right in and hey, we better change that. We better not have that guy walk in anymore. So in the next 5 years, they would go out and test these tractors, but they wouldn't paint them green and yellow. They put Minneapolis Moline sheet metal on them, and they were painted red. So nobody knew what was going on when they went to the testing fields in Nebraska or in the Texas in the wintertime and all over. So a 5-year secret that has evolved for a long time. So this is Herb Lofi's 4020. 4020 sold for around $8,000 new, in the $8,000 figure. You can't buy one anymore off the farm for $8,000. These tractors are bought in the high-end Mecum auctions, $50,000, $60,000. Many of them are still used today on the farms. It's just a good all-around farm tractor made by John Deere. Here we have a John Deere A. John Deere A by Joe, owner and driven by Joe Urakis, 1952. 52 was the last year that they made the A's. Then they went to a number series, the 40, 50, 60, 70, and then the 80. So different change, different styling, and then after that was the 30 series, 20 series, where they went to the green and the yellow. So nice original tractor Joe bought a couple years ago. Thanks, Joe. So here we got a newer international tractor. This is what you call, that's a row crop tractor, no different than the 4020. This is a standard tractor where it wasn't made to be putting a a front mount cultivator on. Everything was done for, these tractors were made for pulling. This is a 450 Wheatland. Wheatland meaning a lot of them were out west Canada and north and South Dakota in the big fields. And that's where this big 715 International tractor, that's where you would see them. They're not going to be in Wisconsin where you got a 20-acre field, because the equipment that pulls, it was bigger than the field. Mark Freeze from Rubicon, nicely done, 450. You saw the M that went through here was all red. International did the same thing as John Deere when they, in the 50s, where they styled them better, put a little bit more color into them, and made them fancier, and then the price went up too. Thanks for coming. Looks like we got an oil pull coming here. Oil pull meaning that radiator in the front where the smoke is coming out, they didn't use water for cooling the engine. That has oil in it. One of the good things about using oil, back in the days when these were built, they didn't have antifreeze, so at night, in the cold weather, you'd have to drain that water out all the time. So if you have something with all oil, you didn't have to drain that out. I lost my runner. This is a 1921 Sam Schmitz is the owner of this tractor. Nicely done. You've seen these a lot in the thrashing rigs, and also out there plowing also. It would have lugs on the rear wheels for traction. This thing here wouldn't pull much with no lugs on it. But a nice original 1921 oil pull. Thanks for bringing it through. Next we have a 1968 International Harvester 656. International used a lot of different numbers on the tractors. This is a row crop, but it has a wide front end. You could still put a 4-row cultivator on the front, but a lot of them went to they have a 3-point, and they would have the rear cultivator on the back. These didn't come out with a pulley like the M's and the H's. That was the thrashing was getting was behind the scene. They didn't have thrashers anymore. They had combines run by the PTO. So this is owner and driver is Chris Rudolph. The red-nosed reindeer. From Mosquito, right? Mosquito. Yep, talked to you yesterday. Right behind is your granddaughter. Oh, right there. Oh, make sure you teach her how to drive that tractor. Next we have a 1966 wheel horse. This was made by Mr. Pond in Indiana. He just had a little old garage where he started making the roof behind garden tractor. Then he, as time, evolution came around, all they did was, early ones was put wheels on the back and steering wheel in the seat. Otherwise, the frame and everything was the same. So, I don't know, what year did they stop making wheel horses, remember? I don't remember either, but it was a well-built tractor, and there's a lot of them around. There's even a Wheel Horse Collectors Society and everything. So, and he's pulling a Simplicity garden cart. That cart would actually flip right over and the top would be right on the ground. Yeah, you got a clamp on it now. It wouldn't work so good. But that was Simplicity version of a garden cart, and it would be, I don't know, if you had it full of gravel, it would be kind of hard to tip over. But that was their vintage of trailer cart. Thank you. Shane? Oh, that's Shane Huffman. Okay, driven by Corey Clatt. Come to Oak Creek Show. That's October 14th. Second week in in October. And they're featuring Alice Chalmers, yes. That's an old show, right south of the airport. 1942 John Deere, owner is Ethan Burkle, and is driven by Meredith Payne and Ethan Burkle. 1942, as they said, they started styling them in 1938, but it still has the square spoke wheels, round spoke in the front. These are cut off beams. At some point in time, they were the cut off, put a beam with steel, and in 42 it was hard to get rubber, so all the tractors were delivered with steel wheels, because during the war it was hard to get rubber because all the rubber was going to the war equipment. And when these tractors were shipped from the factory, they actually took out a couple gears so you couldn't go very fast with the steel wheels. So if you're finding one that hasn't been switched over, you got a real gem. Thanks for coming. Thanks for driving. Oh, good for next tractor. Thank you for putting that on there. Looks like we got the old man driving an H, being Mr. Burkle here, Todd, a 1942 Farmall H. It's owned by Cindy Burkle. That's all right. You bought her a tractor? That's why she bought a red one. Hey, all right. A lot of these H's were made. This, you put a two bottom plow on that, put a two-wheel mower on the front, triple mower on the back, good for raking hay, and all around good tractor in the state. Thanks for coming, Pat. Oh, that's right, you're here every year. So along with the evolution in international from the M's and the H's, and early one, 1917, we got a 756. As time progressed, no, it didn't come with that chrome pipe, noisy thing, because you wouldn't be able to stand it out in the field all day with that thing, but it looks kind of sharp for the people that like it. 1969 756. Barney Gunther is the driver and the owner. And along with time, you can see the H they went through, the can seat where they had more comfortable seat, more room on the platform, a better straight line,
It's a recutter.
more land you could plow with, and more college you could
Maybe
get.
they did grind
More interest that you had to pay the bank,
That's kind of the same as the grinder.
and time goes on.
After that, I guess there's probably knife.
What are you doing here, Clint?
There's knives or hammers. It's gotta be, if it's a recutter, it's gotta be knives, I would think.
Our first Oliver,
You say it's green or
St.
something?
Charles, Iowa, 1946 Oliver,
Got
an
feed
80 row
rolls.
crop.
Yeah.
They made 60, 70, 80, then they went to 66, 77.
I'm nosy, I'm in luck.
There's
a cylinder in here, a sharpener for knives.
Very nice.
The sharpener going back and forth.
Okay, Breen, click in here. Unstyled because the radiator is open. These tractors here were run on either, this one just gasoline, but these older tractors, they were distillate was cheaper than gasoline. For your younger people, gasoline was probably 17 cents a gallon or something like that. Distillate was cheaper, so they went with distillate, but you couldn't, you would start them on gasoline, they had a small tank, and then you would switch it over to distillate, and there'd be shutters on the front of the radiator, because it took you had to have the engine hotter with the distillate, and then before you shut it off, you had to turn it back to gasoline, so it would start easier. So a little history on the history of the distillate unstyled tractors. Thank you. A Gale hat for a Gale name, right? Yeah, this guy told me how to pronounce his name because I messed it up yesterday. I told him I wouldn't remember. This is a 1959 Ford 541 offset. Well, why is it called an offset? He's sitting right down in front of the row that he'd be cultivating. International came out with these with they called them outside vision. And so Ford made it, they just called it an offset tractor. 1941, these tractors were designed with television attachments, often found in tobacco, corn. This is a 1959 Ford 541 offset. Well, why is it called an offset? He's sitting right down in front of the row that he'd be cultivating. International came out with these with they called them multi-vision. And so Ford made it, they just called it an offset tractor. 1941, these tractors were designed with cultivating attachments, often found in tobacco, corn. Driver's seat is offset to see the cultivation and crop to minimize damage. It's Bob Walzak. Hey, I got it right. Hey, where you from, Bob? Richfield? Very good. Thanks for coming so far. Next we have a 1949 9N rather. There goes my cards. John Schmidt and Eugene Becker, and it's driven by John Schmidt. It's a family tractor bought in 1942. It's set up to plow a garden in the fall. 2 years ago, last year, we had the cultivator on the front. Henry Ford came out with these tractors in 1939. He had developed the Fordson before the 2N, the 9N, and an 8N. I didn't know much about it. I got 2 Fords myself now. But in 1939, they came out with the 9N, meaning 939. In 1942, they came out with the 2N, meaning that's why it's the 2. And in 1948, they came out with the 8N, so that's why it's an 8N. I always thought it was the 2, the 8, and the 9, but that's how you can decipher the years of the tractors on the small Fords. And then they went to different models like the Ford that came through. They also styled them different. But what's unique about these tractors here, you only need basically 2 inches to work on that tractor. 11/16, which just about every nut on there is 11/16, 7/16 bolt, and an 1.1/16. The 1.1/16 are the 3 drain plugs, the transmission, the engine, and the rear end. There's only a couple of 1/2 inch, and I've rebuilt 2 of them now on the governor and on the generator, but basically everything is 11/16. Well, I wonder why Henry did that. Well, he could buy cakes of 11/16 nuts, and he didn't have all them other nuts that he would buy. Like I've worked on just about every tractor restoring them, and they got many different sizes. So that was Henry's reason. No different than the price on these tractors. They made many of these things because they were very cheap to buy, not in those, I guess you can't say cheap in today's world. They still cost quite a bit of money back then, but they were cheaper than the other ones. I was born and raised out in South Dakota where back in the 50s we had a 1/2 section of ground, and my dad always said, because my grandfather had a Ferguson that he sold in the farm sale in 47, my dad always said those tractors were only good enough to go for after the cows, meaning you didn't want to plow a 100-acre field with that setup there. But that's just a little life story. Thank you, John. Nice talking with you this morning. Yeah. How about a round of applause for our MC Bill and sharing of all of his knowledge. Okay, I'm Lion Ray with Richfield Lions. We want to thank everybody for all your patronages up at our food stand. We have lots of hot dogs left, so we're taking $1.50 off our hot dogs,
$3 hot dogs. Come and get them. Back to you, Bill.
Very good. And I had one yesterday. They were very good and very large. Very, very good hot dogs. Hey, Tom, how's it going? Open it up. I don't know if I have all day. No. Tom Steinbeck, he's a member of Wisconsin Antique Power and is also on the board. He's an owner, and this is a Cultivision, which we talked about that Ford. The International called them Cultivision, where the driver is offset, and this would only be a one-row cultivator on this Cultivision A. You could see the row crop right in front of you. The horsepower is 20, and it has no water pump. Coolant is circulated by convection. No different than the early John Deeres. It wasn't until 1952 when the John Deeres put a water pump on the tractor. So when the tractors got more horsepower, they needed more cooling, so that's when they had to include the water pump with them. Very good, Tom. A lot of these were made in the vegetable industry. Smaller farms, they'd be good. They made a sickle mower for them. It's got the belt pulley in back. You could saw logs. It wouldn't be powerful enough to do a thrash machine. It would do a corn shredder, and so on and so forth. So here we have another Ford, an 860 Power Master. The other one went through, I think, was that a 9 or an 861? It was a 961. Built in what year? Oh, it's Herb's tractor. Okay, yeah. I should know. I know he drove to Indiana, Ohio, picked this up a couple years ago. Nicely done tractor. One of Herb Wilsey's tractors. Looks like we have another Herb Wilsey tractor, an MT. We had an MC before. Well, what does a T stand for? Anybody know? Tricycle. They made these in a wide front version. They made them in a more of a low down standard version. They made an MC being crawler. So the T goes for tricycle. This bracket on the front, you drive into a cultivator. This would be a two-row cultivator, and they would have a one bottom plow. There's a bracket in the front right underneath the clutch pedal there where the would mount into. These were made in Dubuque, like I said before. This is a vertical engine, where the A's and the B's and all that, they were a horizontal engine. Thank you, Mike, for driving Herb's tractor. Here we have our first Case tractor. Looks like a VAC. No? A VC. Okay. 1941. These tractors were built after the steam engines there in Racine. Oh, really? Rock Island. Oh, okay.
Interesting note, we built a few in 42, but 1942 was the end of the Continental engine in Case because of the War Act. They had previous commitments and didn't ship any more engines. So Case came up with their own.
Then Case made their own engine after that. So this has got a Continental engine in it. Very interesting. Yeah, with a belt pulley. But this wouldn't be enough to power a thrash machine. It would be for a shredder or a little saw, good wagon puller, good for raking hay and mowing hay and stuff like that. Grandson driving? Yep, very good. Good to see. Just learned? Well, we all had to learn at one point. We were all rookies at one point. Boy, it's good to see a nice parade today. We got more than yesterday. 1950 8N Ford. No, it didn't come from the factory this way. Justin Carl Cramp, this is a 460 big block with an 871 blower. You wouldn't want to put this out in the field today because I think it would spin the wheels off. Very good. Thanks for coming. Here we have a homemade tractor, the Kids, earlier this morning they were fighting out who was going to drive. I guess this little guy here, he won the fight. A horse and a half John Deere hit and miss engine, driven by Justin Kyle Cramp, and his owner is Justin Kyle Cramp, his dad up the Ford, and driven by Hudson. So when are you going to let your sister drive? Yeah, it's your sister. When are you going to let her drive? Not right now, right? Good for something like that for the kids to learn how to drive, and I even saw him start that engine. He knew how to operate it and how to get it started, and he cranked the engine over himself. Alice Chalmers, yes, Alice Chalmers made garden tractors, but it's the simplicity. Alice Chalmers, we haven't had one today, but they were made in West Alice, so no different than Oliver had garden tractors. I've got one down there around the bend. They were made by Jacobson. John Deere, I don't think made any other brands except John Deere, but Simplicity made Alice Chalmers, they made Herbalife, they made Pennies, yeah, a lot of them. Next we have a motorcycle. It's got a big V8 in it, and they can ride in style, and got the lights and everything on it. And it runs good. Very good. You bet. Thanks for coming. Member of the Rats Club, I should know your name, but I can't remember it. Bob Tom, there you go. Thank you. Hey, Mr. Miller, down there, if you're listening, Doc Tree, that's what I was trying to remember. Next we have another tractor, Herbolosi, a 630. You know, I mentioned after the letter series, they went to the 20 series, then the 30 series. This would be the last of the era of two cylinders, the 30 series. 58, 59, and 60. And 1960, that's when the new generation came out with the 4-cylinder. So this is a vintage of the last 2-cylinder horizontal engine. Very nice. Then we have a John Deere A. It looks like Travis Krieger's dad's tractor. Looks to be like a 1951. 48? Oh, okay. It just looks like a 51. They all look the same. Pulling a New Holland baler. I know I heard Doug and Herb talking last night about that baler really packs them tight. It's driven by, the baler driven by a Wisconsin engine. And one thing about that engine, when it gets good and hot, don't try to start it right away, because you won't get it started. So let it cool off, have a cup of coffee, or just go do the farm chores and go back to baling. But they had the engine on because they came out with these balers when the tractors were smaller, didn't have enough horsepower to pull the baler and loaded wagon behind, so they had a baler on. New Holland made a lot of balers. They're still in business today. I think it's New Holland Ford. A Case tractor made in Racine. This looks like to be an S. This Travis's tractor? I think it's a S. No, it's a D. That's right. He had the story on it yesterday, but I surely don't remember. This is a style tractor. So it's got to be above 38, standard build tractor, where you wouldn't have anything mounted to the front. Everything would be for like pulling a disc, a drag, a 2-arm plow, and yeah, anything small you could pull. Here we got an Alice Chalmers tractor. I think this is Herb's tractor also. One of these was made in West Alice. Many people in Washington County and surrounding counties worked at Alice Chalmers factory. They did very well in the agriculture industry. It's just that what they branched out into different things, that's when they started losing and took down the agriculture end of it. Now it was sold out, and it's all AGCO right now. So if you see a tractor that says it's an AGCO, that's actually Alice Chalmers, Oliver, White, a bunch of other ones. So a big conglomerate bought out littler ones. Nice little CA. Yeah, they were good for hay raking and cultivating and stuff like that. Not a lot of horsepower, but for its day it was. Thank you. Here we got an old, I won't even try to say what it is. It's a Ford. Mr. Pulvermacher here. 1930s double A Ford 1.5. Why'd they call him a double A? He doesn't know, but that's what they call it. we'll take that for an answer. Phil and Laurel Pulvermacher from Germantown. If you need some love cut or whatever, that's what that sawmill does. Oh, got an answer. It's a double A because it costs twice as much as a Model A. Right here, if you haven't got your tickets already, this is Ron Strauss. He's also on the board of Wisconsin Antique Power. This is our raffle for this year. We didn't have anybody to restore the tractor or take it around. This is a $7,300 unit. You could win for $5, or if you want to buy $20 worth or $100 worth. That is and thanks to St. Lawrence Equipment, they give us a good price on that tractor. One thing, that's a 3-year warranty on that tractor. It starts when you pick it up. And that was the only dealer that would do that. Thanks to Randy at St. Lawrence. All the rest of them started when we picked that up in March. So hats off to St. Lawrence Equipment. If you need anything around the area, tell them thanks for giving Wisconsin Antique Power Union a good buy on a raffle tractor, on a zero turn. And if you haven't ever had a zero turn, I've had a zero turn for about 4 years. It cuts your mowing time down in half. Marty Zabel in this nice Case 400. This is a standard tractor. It has the belt pulley. These were made basically for, like the standard tractors, for pulling the big disc, the 3-bottom plow, or whatever. It wasn't made for putting attachments on the front. This is a nice restored tractor. Marty was in the Audi body business, and yeah, if your car was taken care of, the car had a paint job just like that tractor. So hats off to Marty. Thanks for coming. Here comes another tractor that you don't want to take and make it look like new. This tractor would have had steel lugs just like the last one that came through here without lugs on. This is an old F20, right, Cindy? F20. Farmall came out with the regular first, and then it was the 12, the 14, and the 20, and they all increased the stroke and the, increased the bore and the stroke to give them more horsepower. These tractors were hard to steer in the dirt and whatever with a cultivator on the front. You see pulleys on the front off the frame. It actually was those pulleys actuated a cable that went around when you turned that. See, if you turn to the left, that left brake would go on to assist you in turning in the hard turning areas. Thanks, Cindy. And that looks like it concludes the parade of the 24th annual tractor show here in Richfield. Well, thank the Historical Society for always bringing on something new. Thanks for coming. I didn't expect to see the show, the people that we have here today because of the Packer game and everything, but thanks for coming. I guess we overruled the Packer game on all you people that came. So, thanks a lot. See you next year, with the good Lord willing.